Trump just said sometimes you need a...
Usually they say he's a horrible dictator type person. I'm a dictator. But sometimes you need a dictator.
Can we cue Cal from both sides news excusing this as a joke, please? Look, this was not a formal setting. He was on an unscripted rant about how good his speech went this morning. He was just playing with you. He's not even hiding it anymore, Cal. He's telling you how he feels about his power, yet you still find excuses for him, even when he's not looking for excuses for himself. It's like when he said he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose any voters. You are that voter. Look, our constitutional republic believes in checks and balances, and we are obviously anti-dictator, but... Why is there always a but? But every single president, with the exception of William Henry Harrison, has signed a thing called a executive order, which is unilateral authority vested to the president. No, except it's not unilateral authority. All executive orders are still bound to the Constitution, judicial review, and congressional statutes. There's no dictators in our system, whatever way you look at it. Well, I think what Trump was saying is Biden over the last 4 years told us that I cannot shut down the border without Congress, and then Trump came in and shut down the border without Congress using his executive authority. That's because Congress has already delegated broad immigration authority to the executive branch, but you're turning this into a technical, legal argument when Trump wasn't. He was speaking broadly, and we see his embrace of dictators worldwide. He's buddy-buddy with Putin, the Gulf states, Erdogan, yet he's extremely and almost oddly critical of democratic leaders around the world. Open up your freaking ears. He's telling you straight up. In your ears, fixate on these few jokes he makes while I'll stay focused on the substance of building a great economy, creating a safe country, and acquiring Greenland. I think I need to quit from this place. Get the hell out of here. All right, I'm staying.
And all right, guys, we are live. Yo, this is S.E.T Media, guys, and I'm back with another one for you. All right, guys, we're about to get into these Trump interviews, then we're going to go ahead and we'll call it a night on the live, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. But all right, guys, let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video. And if you want me here longer, make sure to support the channel. All right, guys, let's keep it going.
The Attorney General Keith mark the one-year anniversary to your second term in the White House. Minnesota continues to be ground zero for the left's war against your deportation efforts. Just today, you saw the Department of Justice issue a number of subpoenas against Democratic officials there, Governor Tim Walz, the mayor of Minneapolis, and the Attorney General Keith Ellison. What is the status of Minneapolis, and what is your administration doing to ensure that...
Honestly, they need to bring up charges on Jacob Fry as well, which is the mayor of Minneapolis, who is not letting the local police provide crowd control. So if anybody should be brought up on obstruction, it's honestly him. Tim Walz, he got like a whole state to run. But this guy, Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minnesota, the protests are going on in his city. He has all the ability to bring out the police to help squash this protest or to make it safe to where people don't turn from protesters to obstructioners. But hey, we'll see how that works out for them.
Your deportation efforts can continue in that city and around the country?
I think you have two problems. Number one, you have $19 billion worth of stolen money. At least. I think the number is going to be much higher. And you have that in California. You have it in other states also, I believe, when you go through it. So that's a big problem. And then you have the agitators, anarchists. You know, I watched sort of everything. I see it all. And I see people screaming, shame, shame. You know, this is not people that are like living in Minnesota. These are professional paid people. They're like actors. I mean, I watched the guy last night in the church. He was, and not just Don Lemon. Don Lemon's a loser. Yeah. But I watched the guy last night in the church. This guy's a professional guy. And he actually admits to it. He gets paid a lot of money to go and cause trouble. And you see that. What they don't see is that ICE gets rid of murderers, drug dealers.
I mean, yeah, I sure does get rid of murderers, drug dealers who are here illegally, and undocumented immigrants. Now, the left's problem is the fact that we're getting rid of undocumented immigrants who came in here illegally but don't have a criminal history after. And they're saying that these are our neighbors and all this good stuff. And I'm just like, okay, so you're okay with people pretty much subverting federal law, breaking federal law, and then we're just supposed to treat them as if they're a law-abiding citizen when we have people who actually go through the normal process who become legal immigrants. I'm sorry, but if you're coming here illegally when we have a legal process, there should be no exception for you. It is what it is. But let me show you a little bit of what's been going on in Minnesota, because it's insane. Now, this is the back of a nice van, right? This is the weapons box.
Oh, wow.
That they've broken into. FBI, right?
Oh my God. Oh my.
Now, this guy with the tattoo face was later caught. He was later caught. So thank God. I mean, the math is a little smarter than
It's some bullets.
Hey, that's a 47.
I don't know.
taking the patch. They took the personal patch.
No way.
Tourniquet there. Did he get?
So as you see, they kind of have this energy right here.
I stole that shit. Stole that shit. That's what I'm doing, nigga. Fuck, nigga, I stole that shit.
I mean, literally, it's like there's literally an insurrection going on out there because they don't want federal law to be upheld, and they're willing to get in the way of ICE officers and steal their weapons, apparently, and then also try to hurt them as well. And then they're wondering why Trump is threatening the Insurrection Act.
Tren de Aragua, I mean, the worst gang in the world, anywhere in the world, MS-13, Tren de, but these are the worst gangs, and they get rid of them, they take them out. And I say, something's wrong when a place like Minnesota, which is a good place, it's got a horrible governor, it's got horrible people, this Elon Omar is...
Oh, and shout out Steph for starting us off. She said, you ready for that snow that's coming? No, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I do not, man. It has already been like -2 degrees out here, man. With snow, man. It's like create more problems for your boy, but it is what it is.
Horrible. I mean, she comes from a country that doesn't even have a government. They have nothing. And she comes here and she lectures us on the Constitution. She's got constitutional rights. She's just horrible. Somebody said she's worth $30 million. Well,
yeah.
Therefore, she's obviously a very dishonest person. And she should be looked at for that. So you have a couple.
I mean, come on now. Just because she's worth 30 mil doesn't mean she got it dishonestly. Now, she mainly got it through her husband. Her third husband, by the way, the third husband that she was cheating on her second husband with, because apparently that guy had more money. I mean, Tim Minette is his name. He owns I believe he owns a consulting company and all this good stuff. So, yeah, and his net worth is around the same. So, yes, the only reason why she's worth 30 million is because of her husband, who's white, by the way, and all that ish talk she does about white people. Her richness is connected to a white man. I mean, bro, these Dems are freaking hilarious. Got all that shit talking to do about the white man and white people, but they're married to one. They sleep next to one, and just like Don Lemon, they're bottom to one.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Things. You have the money thing, and then you have the all of the fake nonsense going on and screaming to people. They're so professional. They hold their cameras up high, and it's a terrible thing going on in Minnesota.
Well, you've threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act if the governor did not get things under control. They clearly don't have things under control and don't seem to want to get them under control. You have these activists storming churches now, and they're still impeding these investigations of child sex offenders, murderers. At a press conference today at the White House, you held up a number of photos of the people that ICE has been deporting. The Insurrection Act would allow you, it requires essentially that if federal law cannot be enforced, you can invoke it and it would allow it to be enforced. So where are you with that threat? And do you still think it's necessary?
I don't think it is yet. It might be at some point. It is actually very common. You know, with me, they'll make it like a big deal, but it's been used by over 40% of the presidents during their term. It's something I would have no problem doing if I think we needed it. We have great people in ICE. They're strong people. They're smart people. And I don't think it's necessary yet. But, you know, I see they're building up like, oh, if he ever did that. Over 40% of the presidents used it. Some presidents used it actually many times. And it does make life a lot easier. You don't go through the court system. It's just a much easier thing to do. But I don't think we need it at this point, and hopefully we won't need it. But I would.
A lot of people disagree with you on that one, Trump. I mean, when they're vandalizing ICE vehicles, I mean, they're out here trying to hurt these guys and all this, follow them around. The federal judge is now saying that, oh, it's okay to do that. At a certain point, you do got to bring the Insurrection Act. And I'm almost looking at Trump like, all right, well, how bad does it need to get? Because, I mean, a lady already died. What you waiting for, an ICE officer? I mean, one was almost ran over with a car. So what's going on here? I'd have been invoked the Insurrection Act like a week ago.
I would not have any problem with invoking it if we needed it.
Well, as you pointed out, this is not just a problem in Minnesota. It's been a problem in Los Angeles and elsewhere. There's a new governor across the river in Virginia, Democrat Abigail Spanberger. The first thing she did when she came into office was repeal cooperation between ICE agents and local law enforcement. So what is your message or response to governors like her now deciding they're not going to work with ICE?
Well, I hope there are no problems, because if there are, she's not going to get it corrected very easily. And that's a bad signal. You know, that's not where the country is. The country doesn't want to see murderers and drug dealers and gang members and all come in from other countries and just stay in their area. Take a look at Washington, D.C. As you know better than anybody, it was very, very unsafe a year and a half ago, because now it's a year. So I have to go a little more than a year ago. But it was a very, very unsafe place. And now it's totally safe. It's a beautiful, I mean, people are walking with their kids to restaurants. They meet their husband at a restaurant. The restaurants were all closing. Now the restaurants are all opening. The place is beautiful. And you have good looking, solid military people walking around. It's actually, I think it's almost like an enhancement. Everybody feels safe. Washington, D.C. is a different place. If you go to, well, it's happening in Louisiana, where you have, we put some of the security in Louisiana. Go to Memphis, go to different places. I mean, wherever we put it, it's good. Now, even in Chicago.
I mean, yeah, because these are, well, red states, and these governors are not going to sit there and fight Trump on it. They're going to let Trump go in there, fix these blue cities that have the most crime in these red states, and that's that. But apparently, places like, Illinois and Minnesota don't want to let Trump bring in the National Guard to clean up their blue cities or their high crime areas. I mean, I don't know why. Well, really, it's because of Trump. Let's be real. If it was Obama, they'd have been like, oh, please, thank you, Obama. But since it's Trump, they're trying to make it look like this is an authoritarian thing. They're trying to create a police state. And I'm like, the worse y'all crime get, the more, I'm be real with you, the more of a reality of a police state is. I'm be real with you. Y'all creating this reality of a police state. Like, the worse the crime gets, the closer you guys get to that reality of a police state.
Chicago, we got the crime down a little bit. We did just a little minor version of it, but we get no cooperation. Yeah. If I were a Democrat governor, I would say, boy, would I love to have Trump come in here so I could show some good numbers. Bruh. But anywhere we go, everywhere we go, it's good. And by the way, the numbers are way down in Minnesota. If you go to Minnesota, the numbers are down because of us. But it's like pulling teeth.
Well, one of the first things that you did when you came into the White House for the second time is you signed the Laken Riley Act after Laken Riley was murdered by a criminal illegal alien here from Venezuela. Why do you think that Democrats are defending these types of people? What's the reasoning behind that?
Well, it's not only defending, it's like Laken Riley is, you mentioned the name and they don't even want to talk about it. You see it at State of the Union addresses. You introduce people there. Their young child was killed by a horrible human being, and the Democrats sit there and they won't clap, they won't acknowledge. The mother and father stand up, they're devastated.
Yep.
And the Democrats are just sitting there. They won't smile, they won't clap. There's something wrong with them. Maybe it's Trump derangement syndrome, but no, there's something wrong with them. You introduce a family whose child was just lost, and they're sitting there and they're just stone-faced. Is a meanness. They're a mean group of people.
Because, and here's the worst part about it, is like they sit there and they think, oh, well, this is just Trump trying to use these guys for publicity, use these guys to make a point. And I'm just like, well, duh. I mean, look at the problem that the border situation created under you guys. It's almost like the Democratic Party didn't want to look at their mistakes. And every time Trump brought it to their face, they got bitter. And instead of actually sitting there being like, yeah, you're right, we were wrong on the border. Let's work with you to fix it. They just doubled down. They doubled down and said, no, you will not deport these illegal immigrants that we let in here over the past 4 years. You will not deport them. These are our neighbors, our friends. Who's going to do the slave work for Americans? I mean, that was literally their argument.
You're on your way to Davos this week.
Right.
There's a lot of talk about Greenland, of course. European leaders are not so happy about your increased pressure to acquire Greenland. For the average American who maybe doesn't understand why the United States is pursuing this piece of property,
right,
what do you say to them? Why do we need Greenland?
It's located in such a place that is literally so important for national security. When you come to Russia, when you come to China, a lot of Chinese boats, a lot of Russian, ships, military ships. It's in a location that is very important for our national security and also for the international security of the world, literally. It's a very big piece of land. It's really cold, got a lot of ice on it. So it's not like we're going to build a nice real estate development or anything.
No golf course on Greenland?
Well, I don't see a golf course. You'd have to wear a lot of very heavy clothing. We're not going to set any records with golf, but I will tell you that it's very important to the United States. And as an example, we're building the Golden Dome, which we're going to have a dome over the country. If somebody wants to shoot missiles, it'll knock them out of the air like matchsticks. It'll go very nicely. It's amazing. Ronald Reagan wanted this many, many years ago. He was ahead of his time. But the problem is,
like I said, the top two reasons why we need Greenland is one, military positioning in the Arctic, and of course, the molybdenum and other rare earth minerals that is rich in Greenland. Like, we need that. Like today.
You didn't have equipment that worked. Today, the equipment is unbelievable. You've seen it. I mean, we can knock a missile coming at thousands of miles an hour. It's like, and you get literally 100% of them. The technology is so good. So we're building a Golden Dome, and having Greenland makes it a much more effective Golden Dome.
So you're saying Greenland is essential for the security of the United States in the free Western world for
Correct.
the sake of missile defense.
That is correct.
And that's why we need Greenland.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And even beyond missile.
Like I said, for military Arctic positioning, like there's intercontinental ballistic missiles, they fly through the poles. And so basically, and Trump is right when he says this, if there was ever missiles to be fired like that, they're going to fly right over Greenland to the U.S. And it doesn't make sense that we don't acquire Greenland, have our own missile defense set up, aka the Golden Dome, and be completely protected on the north side or in the Arctic region.
Defense, but it is so important for the Golden Dome. It's so important for just national and actually international security.
So the European Union has said that in response to your pursuit of Greenland, they will launch a, quote, trade bazooka at the United States. What do you think that means? And what is your response to Europe threatening some kind of trade war?
I don't think they know what it means, actually, but they already do trade bazookas. They fine our companies billions of dollars, like Apple and Google and lots of them, 15, 16, 17 billion dollars. And you shouldn't be doing that. We just signed a deal with them, and it's a good deal. It's a big deal. And had we not had tariffs, we wouldn't have been able to sign anything like it. But they need that deal. So I don't think they really know what a bazooka means. And if see anything they do with us, I'll just meet it. If all I have to do is meet it, and it's going to go ricocheting backward. But we're not looking at that. We'll probably be able to work something out, possibly even during the next few days in Davos.
Mm-hmm. So looking back here at home, domestic.
Because, yeah, it does look like Trump is only providing Denmark two options. Either we buy it or we take it. We pay you $700 billion for it, or we take it through military force. And then, of course, that's going to upset NATO. All Trump got to do is pull out of NATO. I mean, and let's be real, NATO's military force is the United States. So, and I mean, if Canada think they're going to back them up when they need us to promise to defend them, I mean, that's even more hilarious. A lot of these European countries are posturing. So they're making it look like they can do something when they know they really can't, and they're just putting up a good front for the world. I mean, and let's be real, all Trump got to do is pull out and call these guys enemy combatants, and they're going to flood right out of Greenland.
Last year, you worked with Congress very closely, Republicans in charge of both the House and the Senate. And of course, you're in the White House, and you worked with them on the big, beautiful bill. For 2026, especially in a midterm election year, what is your goal for Congress in terms of getting your agenda through? What is on the agenda? What expectations do you have for Congress?
Well, one of the things I'd like to do, we pass so many executive orders. I have great executive orders that are really common sense and good, and like water coming out of a sink. The water wouldn't come out. They had all sorts of ridiculous restrictions.
Bro, is this guy dumb or something? Well, hey, I'm glad we still got the dumb chatters even with the shadow ban. But bro, you sound low-key stupid. Like there's only brown people there's brown people low-key all over this earth. I mean, and guess what, bro? If you're an American citizen, then you don't get deported as a brown person. I'm not sure who told you that lie, but you might want to actually look that up before you come on somebody's chat and say something that dumb. Oh, well, he's going to come with, he's going after the brown people. And guess what Greenland has? Brown people. Greenland is mostly white people, bro. You know how cold Greenland is? You know, black people don't like the cold. Brown people in general don't like the cold. We mainly reside in very warm areas. I mean, I would hope you would know that since you want to talk about brown people.
Took all of that off.
It don't even matter. That doesn't have anything to do with what Trump is saying about the strategic value, about the mineral value. I mean, you're not really making too much sense. You're making an emotional argument. So shout out to the crybabies in the chat. He said, boy.
Coming out of the shower head, you'd stand under a shower. There's no water.
They're not all Eskimos out there in Greenland. I hope you know that.
Coming in.
Yeah,
so there's so many things like that. Straws. They don't have to be paper anymore. They don't have to melt in your mouth. So I pass so many different things like that, and much more important things, but like that. They're important, the quality of life. And I'd like to have all of that confirmed by Congress if we can. And we've done a lot of it. We've done probably 35, 40%. I'd like to get them all confirmed, every one of them.
So you want your executive orders codified in law, so to speak?
Ideally, we get them codified, and we get them codified soon, yes.
So the mortgage rates are down in terms of the economy. Inflation has slowed. Gas prices are down. The budget deficit has been cut significantly by tariffs.
These are very good things, Katie.
What do you think the economy is going to look like now that the legislation from last year will be kicking in and the Biden agenda will be no longer in place?
So we have thousands of businesses being built right now because of tariffs. We've taken in so much money. And what's happened is, in order not to pay the tariff,
man, you actually know what's even worse about them trying to make a brown point about Greenland? Bro, if you go to Greenland right now, you're mostly going to see, mainly white people of mixed ancestry. Yes, that's what you're getting wrong. There's mixed ancestry. There's actually a really small population of pure whites, but no, most of them are white people with mixed ancestry. So that's why when you go to Greenland, you mainly see white people. Yeah, but most of those white people are of mixed ancestry, aka they don't actually come from the natives that were actually in Greenland at the time of the settlement.
Will be no longer in place.
So we have thousands of businesses being built right now because of tariffs. We've taken in so much money. And what's happened is, in order not to pay the tariff, they don't have to pay it. All they have to do is build their business here. So all over the world, they're coming and they're building car plants, AI plants, massive buildings and small buildings, but literally thousands of them. We've never had anything like it. And you've seen that $18 trillion is coming in. No country's ever been even close to that. And I think it's just going to be an explosion of success. I would be very surprised if it wasn't. There's never been anything like $18 trillion. As you go back, if you see $2 trillion or $3 trillion, that's a lot. We're at 18. And by the way, that's through 11 months. I assume I'm going to add something for the last month, which was now we just finished our 12th month. So we're going to be over $18 trillion. There's never been anything like that in the history of our country.
So when you're talking to these companies,
and these $18 trillion is coming from promising and bringing manufacturing back to the United States, countries promising to buy American energy. And that's mainly it, is the manufacturing that's being brought back to the United States and the promising of buying American energy and American weapons as well. I mean, remember, Saudi Arabia put in $1 trillion order for jets and, U.S. military weapons.
Companies who are investing in the United States saying they're going to build new plants. How do you ensure that they continue that investment after you leave office? Similar to your executive orders getting codified by Congress. How do you ensure that those deals actually come through?
Well, once they build the plant, they're sort of here. They're spending billions of dollars to build a plant. They're going to be here. That means, they're not going anywhere. They can't put it on their back and bring it over to another country. So I think the big thing is to get it built now during my administration. And once they build, they're building a building that costs $2 billion, $10 billion in some cases, and in some cases, 50 and 60 billion, the AI. And with AI, I'm letting them build their own electric plants so they can build the electric because, creating that kind of electricity for us, for China, okay, but we're beating China badly on AI. We're doing incredibly well. The approval process is going so quickly. if you look at the approvals, it's such a big deal getting that. We have Lee Zeldin, who's done a fantastic job, but all of those houses in California that burned down, they had their approvals within 2 weeks, federal approvals. Federal approvals are tougher than the local approvals.
Typically.
We had everybody done in 2 weeks. The whole place is finished, ready to go. That was a year ago, more than a year ago. They don't have their state or their local approvals. The mayor has been unable, I guess the governor, I don't know if the governor's involved with it, but I think he is. And they have not been able to build their houses. It's a terrible thing.
As the U.S. moves into this AI race, and
actually, instead of building houses, they're actually talking about building low-income apartments. So those nice, rich areas of LA are about to become ghettos, most likely.
Pursue more AI at home. You mentioned these electric plants. Are you interested in more nuclear as well, given that it seems AI is going to surpass the electricity production that the United States can produce on the timeline that AI is working on?
Well, AI is now going to make their own electricity, which is a beauty. I'm giving them a permit where they can make their own. They're going to make their own. They're going to become essentially a utility. They're going to make their own electricity, which is pretty amazing. And they're coming in with plants you wouldn't believe it.
Oh, God, let's not forget to double tap that screen like the video. But yeah, the main reasons why we're trying to get AI to make their own electricity because these data centers are proving not to be so beneficial to the American people. So these data factories be built in the neighborhood, and if like these middle class neighborhoods, they decimate because they double the electric prices because it draws on the energy grid, the same energy grid that the American people use. So their energy prices skyrocket because of this one data center in the area. This is why a lot of middle class or lower neighborhoods are places are saying that, yo, we don't want these data centers because we don't want that same effect of watching our, electricity bill double. Now they're starting to put these data centers in rich areas, where people really don't care if it doubles or not, or they don't really notice, which they will most likely. But yeah, that's what they're doing with the data centers now. Now, what Trump is saying that, yeah, let them create their own mini nuclear reactors, let them create their own little power plant so they can generate their own energy, and they're not doubling the electricity costs of nearby Americans, because that just ain't fair. And let's be real, no American's going to want any data center built next to them if it comes with higher electricity bills. Like, AI ain't that important now.
They're building these massive buildings, and the grid system, can't handle that. We need double the electricity with all that's being built now. We need more than double the electricity that we have in the country now for everything. Think of that. Now, you can't do that unless they want to build their own plants. So we're giving approvals to build their own electric plants, and they're coming in with unbelievable electric plants. They're going to make their own electricity while they're building their plant. They're building an electric plant. That solves the problem.
You've had a goal for a long time to use tariff revenue to replace the income tax for Americans. Where are you in fulfilling that goal?
Well, I think if we can win this case, I think at some point in the not too distant future, it's an option. Or you can just make a lot of money and keep the money and spend it wisely and, spend it on building the country, rebuilding and building the country. But no, I think the revenue will be such that we could, if we wanted, replace the income tax sometime in the not very distant future. The income tax started in 1913. Until then, we had tariffs. Our country was the richest. If you go back to 1887, that was probably the single richest point that our country was ever in. And it was all tariff income. We didn't have an income tax. In 1913, they started with the income tax, and then you had a problem in 1929, a little thing called the Depression, which knocked the hell out of everyone. Then they tried bringing back tariffs a year later, 2 years later to save it, but that was it was gone. You'd say,
oh yeah, and a lot of people don't know about the smooth Harley tariffs. Those were only enacted as a way for the president at that time to keep their promise to farmers. It actually wasn't a way to try to fix the Depression. No, it was a desperate attempt by the president at that time to keep his promise to farmers by protecting them with tariffs. So that's the real reason behind the smooth Harley tariffs. It's not to actually fix the Depression. It was a president's promise, desperate promise, to try to gain the votes or keep the votes of the farmers, which end up failing anyway.
This sucker was gone. And, had I not been elected, you would have had in my opinion, this would have been Venezuela on steroids. And by the way, Venezuela's an amazing thing that just took place a couple of weeks ago.
Speaking of Venezuela, there was a weapon used, a sonic weapon, that took out many of the Cuban bodyguards.
That was his name, Hoover. Yes, it was Herbert Hoover who did up the smooth Harley tariffs, and then pretty much had to go ahead and he did it for the farmers. Like I said, Hoover did it for the farmers, and it wasn't to actually help out the Great Depression. He kind of knew that was cooked. But he said, maybe I can keep my promise to the farmers by protecting them with these tariffs, which didn't really work anyway because, well, the economy was cooked at that point.
That were used to defend Maduro. Lots of people saw the details about that weapon and were concerned. Is that something that Americans should be afraid of, something the United States is combating?
Yeah, something I don't want to, nobody else has it. We have weapons that nobody knows about. And I say it's
Don, I mean, shoot, Lord knows I'm smarter than your ass.
It's probably good not to talk about them.
We didn't know.
Amazing weapons. That was an amazing attack. Don't forget, that house was in the middle of a fort, an army base, a big one, a lot of soldiers, and they came in and they did their job. We lost nobody.
Do you feel like Maduro is going to make some kind of deal when it comes to the charges he's up against? To give you intelligence about what the Russians and Iranians have been doing in his country?
Well, I'm leaving that up to the Department of Justice. We'll see how it all goes. But look, he killed a lot of people. I mean, you look at what happened with the drugs. And he also was responsible more than any other country for emptying his jails, his mental institutions, just emptied them out and brought them into the United States. And that's what we're talking when we talk about Minnesota, when we talk about all this crime stuff. We're getting rid of Biden.
Now, I'm gonna be real with you. The main reason why we got involved in Venezuela isn't because of the drugs. It was because of Maduro heavily aligning with China and Russia. More China than Russia, actually. And when we invaded, when we did our military attack or extraction of Maduro, well, there were Chinese radars, Chinese missiles, Russian missiles, Iranian drones. So it kind of goes to show who had heavy influence in Venezuela, just off their weaponry alone.
He left us a mess. We're getting rid of the mess. He had open borders. He had an open border policy. So Maduro came in and let all of his criminals into the United States because of Biden's open border. They didn't even question. They'd look at some people, they say, they're criminals. I don't want to get into it. They'd say, they're criminals. And it's, come on in.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is getting them out. And believe me, it takes a big part of my time. This was a self-imposed error. This was just a terrible. What they did to this country can never be forgotten. He was the worst president. And what Biden did, and, you know, it's the people that use the auto pen, you can call it a lot of different things. But he was surrounded by people, the beautiful Resolute desk in the Oval Office, which I'll show you right after this.
I'll be real with you. He was surrounded by people who literally took advantage of his mental decline. I mean, at a certain point, we all knew Biden was mentally declining at us. And let's be real, like, Biden was not running the White House, was not running America during his last 2 years. It sounded like it was his staffers, according to Jake Tapper, you know, him finally deciding to tell the truth after we were trying to tell him for all 4 years under Biden. But apparently we were conspiracy theorists, ages, all this, you know, wild stuff just to get away from the fact that, yeah, Biden is mentally declining in front of all of our eyes. So in my honest opinion, yeah, I don't believe that Biden was actually running the United States those last 2 years. I don't believe Biden really wanted to get into it with Russia because he's an old politician. Like, Biden's been around for a minute. He's been around since Clinton. I mean, like, way before Clinton, actually. And he heard Clinton say that, yo, it's not a good idea for Ukraine to join Russia. He even heard Obama say, yo, it's not a good idea for Ukraine to join not Russia, but NATO. It's not a good idea for Ukraine to join NATO. This has been spread throughout American policy for like 3 decades. That, yeah, it's not a good idea for NATO to let in Ukraine or for Ukraine to get into NATO, or else Russia's going to act. We knew this for decades. But for some reason, under the Biden administration and with Biden having all this political experience, just said, F it, that's out the door. Let's just go ahead and try to get into it with Russia. Even though his predecessors warned him not to.
But it's beautiful, but it was surrounded by radical left lunatics. And what they did to this country can never be forgotten. They let in millions of criminals. You know, you have probably 25 million people that were let into this country, and no checking, no vetting, no anything. Many of them came from prisons. Many of them came from mental institutions, gang members, drug dealers. They just let them into our country.
Yeah.
Oh man, let's not forget about the asylum seekers, like the ones that have BS stories. They don't corroborate these stories. They can just sit there and say, "Oh, I'm in danger in my country," and they'll be like, "Oh, okay, cool," without corroborating or anything. They just walk up to the border and just say, "Oh, I'm in danger," but not really. They just want to get into America.
And I've got to get them out.
Ron, you mentioned in the press conference today that you did in the briefing room.
No, literally, like guys pulling up to the border, like,
I'm in danger.
now please let me into your country.
With reporters that they canceled or at least put on hold hundreds of hangings that were scheduled. However, there are reports that they are still burning thousands of protesters alive. They also issued an assassination threat against you over the weekend. I know that you can't talk about what's on the table, but what is your response to Iran's leadership and their regime continuing to taunt you, threaten you, especially given over the weekend you said it's time for new leadership in Iran?
Well, they shouldn't be doing it, but I've left notification. Anything ever happens, we're going to blow the whole country is going to get blown up
over a person.
So,
and this is kind of I'm a bit weary of. I'm like, so we're getting involved over a protest that doesn't really involve us whatsoever, and we're willing to bomb Iran over their prisoners. I know what everybody says, oh, S.E.T, but they was fighting for freedom and all this good stuff. And I'm just like, okay, great. So imagine if this happened in our country, where it's basically happening right now. We got a whole bunch of people who don't agree with the president, is doing, is out there trying to subvert federal law right now. So if we go out there, right, and imprison those people, can you imagine if like Russia said, well, if you execute any of those people, we'll strike America? Like, wait, what? Like, bro, these are our prisoners. Who are you? So I'm kind of looking at us the same way, like, bro, these are their prisoners. So you're really about to bomb them, get into them over their prisoners. No Americans in there whatsoever, just theirs. Don't think that's a very smart idea.
We've, originally Biden should have said something, when they made a statement. We always said, why isn't Biden saying anything? Because he didn't. But a president has to defend a president. Like, if I were here and they were making that threat to somebody, even not even a president, but somebody like they did with me, I would absolutely hit them so hard. But I have very firm instructions. Anything happens, they're going to wipe them off the face of this earth.
This is day 365 of your first term back in office, but it's also been 9 years since the first time you came into the White House as the president.
You knew me right at the beginning, too.
I did indeed. It seems like your team is having some fun. You're not only the commander-in-chief, but there's also some trolling in chief going on with the internet wars. Are you enjoying your time back on the internet and talking to your detractors, maybe some people you're opposed to, through some humor, while also having rigorous debates?
Well, it's really a way of communicating today that you didn't have in the past. It's good. I guess I've been pretty good at it. But it's a way of defending yourself against the fake news. You have such bad, I don't know why they're that way. I don't know why. Why would they want to have criminals in our country? Why would they want to have men playing in women's sports or transgender for everybody, as I say? It's like, why would they do it? But that's the media. The media is very biased, very unfair. We have a very unfair media in this country. So with the internet, we can, I guess, look, I won. We can more than make up for what they do.
So one of your legacy items has been freeing hostages all over the world. Israeli hostages, American hostages. American Dennis Coyle has been taken hostage by the Taliban for almost a year now. Jesus. His family has been speaking out. Molly Long went on News Nation last week to ask for some more public attention to this case. What is your administration doing to get him home?
Well, if you give me the name.
Dennis Coyle.
Okay, you give me some information, I'll take care of that.
I know that your administration is working on it.
I know they are, but I could do some things on the internet that are pretty.
Do you have any response or message to the Taliban?
I mean, yeah, because the Taliban got an X too. I mean, that's the funny thing about the internet. I mean, even the Taliban got a couple accounts out there on X mainly. Yes, I know the terrorist organizations have X accounts.
I
mean, shoot, if Khomeini got one, what, you don't think Al-Qaeda got one? You don't think ISIS got one? Yeah, they all got one. So Trump pretty much puts something out on the internet, and whatever Trump writes go viral on the internet. Yes, the Taliban will catch wind of it.
who continues to hold him for no crime for
Amazingly
simply
enough.
Well, I'm not
being in
happy about them
Afghanistan.
holding anybody, and especially if he's not guilty of anything. And it sounds, I mean, from what I've heard, and again, I'm not that familiar with it like you are, but I will certainly take a very strong position on it.
So you pointed out a ton of your accomplishments throughout the last 365 days. You brought a much thicker book today to the briefing than this one. What do you want your legacy to be now that you have 3 years left in your term?
I would love my legacy to be that I was a great president, and a great president covers a lot of territory. We were safe, we were prosperous, we were doing well, we were happy as a country. I'd like to be known as a great president. A great president takes it all in.
You have a different cabinet structure this time around. The first term, you had a lot of turnover in the cabinet. It caused a lot of political capital to be spent. It was a distraction from the work that you're trying to do with your agenda. This time around, you have lots of different people in your cabinet from different kinds of backgrounds, many of them from the private sector. How do you manage keeping everybody on the same team? It seems like everyone this time around is rowing in the same direction. Very different attitude than last time around.
We had a really successful first term. I rebuilt the military. We got the biggest tax cuts in history, biggest regulation cuts in history. You know that. I mean, we had one of the most.
And what she means is by I think the best example of of Trump's first term, when people go in the other direction, would be John Bolton. So when Trump was trying to, settle things with North Korea, we got John Bolton over here screaming in the North Korean officials' faces, going like, "Oh, you do that, or we'll bomb the shit out of you." Pretty much getting buck wild on the North Koreans to a point where Trump had to send this man somewhere else. And John Bolton never forgave Trump for it because, Trump isn't really a war hawk like that, and he is. So when John Bolton wasn't getting his way with his war hawk agenda with Trump, this is why he turned against Trump. This is why a lot of Trump's first term failed, because he wasn't a war hawk. If Trump was a war hawk, all these guys would have snapped in line and they would have been happy to do whatever the president said. But because he wasn't, they were willing to turn around and stab him in the back.
Really the most successful economy in the history of our country. And the first term was great, but it was corrupted by fake, but the fake news, the fake politicians, everything, Russia, the hoax of the century, all of the different things. And in a way, I was the hunted. And now I'm more of the hunter, I must tell you. Mm-hmm. And these are bad people. These are sick people. I don't know, something wrong with them. But this is more pleasurable. There's no question about it. But my first term was one of the most successful presidencies. But literally, I was hunted by these horrible people.
America has a very big birthday this year, 250 years. Right. Have you ever sat to, thought about reflecting on the fact that you're the president now, George Washington was the president many, many years ago, and what that means for you as an American and what it means for the country?
Oh, it's so interesting because I was the president and we had a great election against Hillary Clinton. Then the next election was rigged like nobody's ever seen, and all the numbers are out, but more are coming out. It was 100% rigged. And the good part is this is such an important presidency, and I'm not sure I could have had the same impact if it were more normalized, because, the impact is big. This has been a very important presidency. It's a much stronger presidency than the first term, and yet the first term we had, I rebuilt the military. I did things that were incredible in the first term, but this, I think, is blowing it away. It's going to blow it away. There is somebody that you are very familiar with that wrote something. I won't mention names. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But they said that, but not somebody that necessarily would write well about me, said this is probably the best first year that a president has ever had. And if you look at that list that you have there, and that's a small version of it, but nobody's done more than we've done. When the biggest tax cuts in history, the biggest regulation cuts in history, all of the military victories that we've had. I mean, we've really, and we're respected all over the world again. I mean, we were laughed at. Think of it. A year and a half ago, we were a joke. We were considered a joke. Be
real with you. Ever since we started using that military might, we're not a joke no more. Everybody who was laughing at Trump like in his first, term, talk about, Greenland. Okay, bro. Now they're like, whoa, he took Venezuela. Yeah, we might actually have to worry about Greenland. Oh, he's not backing off of Greenland. Okay, now this man is dead serious. Everybody was laughing until Trump started getting serious. And now, I mean, the libs are just, well, crying all day long. I mean, we even got some of the guys on our side that's going like, well, what about no new wars? And I'm like, well, are we at war with Venezuela? No. Are we going to go to war with Greenland? No. And if we take Greenland, you think that NATO is really going to want to go to war with us while they are also worried about Russia? No. So Trump is actually playing this strategically well. He's hitting these guys at a very vulnerable moment where they cannot military react or they will decimate themselves.
Nation. A year and a half ago, as the king of Saudi Arabia said, a year and a half ago, you were a dead nation. Now you're the hottest. We are the hottest nation anywhere in the world. And I love saying it. We are now the hottest nation anywhere in the world, and it's not even close.
Is there something that you wanted to happen last year that didn't? Is there something that you think your administration could have done better?
Well, last year, you mean last term?
Last year, you're during your first year in your second term, or during your first term?
Year. So I would say this. I think we're clicking on all cylinders. I don't want to get greedy and say, oh, gee, I wish I could have done this. Crime is at an all-time low, despite the fact that we inherited many criminals from the Biden open border policy. So crime is at an all-time low. Our military is doing unbelievable. We are the most powerful military in the world. We showed that with Iran. If you look at the Iran nuclear attack, we knocked out their nuclear capability, which was a big thing, which led to peace in the Middle East. We actually have peace in the Middle East. Nobody thought that was possible. The recent Venezuela attack was incredible. No, from a military standpoint, strategically, people have never seen anything like it. It's been amazing. So I don't think I can ask for the economy. We have the number one, we have the best economy we've ever had. And by the way, prices are coming way down.
On the economy, you've made it clear that you want to transfer the U.S. economy from one that's based on federal government subsidies and employment to more of a private sector economy. Yeah. Where are you in that transition process?
Good. I mean, look, I hate to fire people.
Because here's the problem, though. It's like all these government subsidies is making these corporations spoiled. It's like they don't even try to make things better to where they can lean off government subsidy. They just actually depend on them like the farmers do. I mean, it's not, and the farmers is just one of the best examples. There's other places we give subsidies to where we're pretty much just propping up these businesses. Oh, insurance companies. Remember the ACA subsidies that goes to insurance companies, you know, to what? Make a healthcare more affordable, and look how that failed. I mean, we were paying subsidies to these farmers under the Biden administration. I mean, well, they can't really help inflation, but look how that worked out for us. So government subsidies doesn't guarantee the success of these corporations or lower prices. So we do got to come up with something else where the American people aren't footing the bill for these corporations. Because, I mean, let's be real. They're getting rich off these subsidies while we continue to suffer. But our money is going towards it, though.
But we fired hundreds of thousands of federal employees because we had 10 people to do one job. And those people probably didn't like it very much. And now they're in the private sector and they're getting 2 and 3 times more money and they're doing well. And the only way a country can make it, you can't have too many government jobs because that's not a job that's going to, as we say, make America great again. So those people have now transitioned into the private sector. I could give you the greatest numbers ever. I'll just hire 1 million or 2 million federal workers tomorrow, and you'll see that we're going to be at 2.5% as opposed to 3% or 3.5%. You could do anything. That's what the Democrats do. They hire people to work in the federal government. Then they say they have good unemployment numbers. Okay, I don't do that, and it's easy to do, and it looks good. But ultimately, you can't build a country that way. Our country is doing unbelievably well. We have great unemployment numbers, and we really, I mean, many of these people have transitioned already from the federal government into private jobs.
You expressed some frustration earlier that your message of your accomplishments is not getting out. Why do you think that is? I mean, you're talking about all these lowered prices, inflation has gone down, mortgage rates are below 6% for the first time in many years. What do you attribute to you feeling like you can't get your accomplishments highlighted?
Inflation is down to a very low number. You want it to be at the number it is at now. Last month, it was down to 1%.
Look, I'm not going to say Trump's performance on the economy is absolutely perfect, but to compare to what the Dems were saying all last year, it is basically perfect. I mean, what happened in April with the tariff? They said, oh, this is about to be an economic downturn, about to go through a recession. Prices are going to skyrocket across the board, but prices didn't skyrocket across the board. Actually, prices went down. I mean, we didn't go through an economic recession. Actually, we've been seeing positive GDP growth, especially towards the end of the year. So all that doomsday that the Dems were doing kind of makes it seem like Trump is having a perfect economy. If they just spend more time shutting their mouth, then they'd be able to actually call out some critiques. But it's hard to call out critiques when you were the main one saying that, oh, everything's going to be bad, but that didn't come out to be true.
And Biden had it. It was the highest inflation in history. And when I inherited this economy that he gave me, the prices were through the roof. I got them down. I mean, most prices are down now. Look at gasoline at $1.99 a gallon versus, I mean, we have many states where it's less than $1.99. It was $4.50, $5, $3.75, I guess, if sometimes. But basically, there were many times what it is right now. No, we've done a great job. I think the economy is phenomenal. We're rebuilding the military, continue to rebuild it. And again, right now, we're recognized as having the strongest military in the world. And I rebuilt the military in my first term.
How are you feeling about the midterm elections, the Republican Party? Do you have contingency plans in place if Democrats were to take either the House or the Senate, given that last time when Democrats were in charge?
I mean, shoot, focus on affordability and you won't have to do that. I mean, here's the thing. Like I said, if he could just point out how the Democrats run the most unaffordable states and cities, he'd be able to flip that argument on them. And then the people would be like, yo, yeah, why aren't you making things more affordable? Because it makes no sense how, and I think Trump needs to bring this up, how somebody in New York is paying 30% more in groceries than somebody in Ohio. And actually, it's even worse when you compare other red states, and the Dems like to sit there and cope by saying, well, nobody wants to live in there. I mean, bro, like, yeah, I mean, over 10 million plus people, nobody want to live there. Okay, bro. I mean, keep on going with that, cope. But the fact of the matter is that life is cheaper in red states.
Of the House, they impeached you.
Oh, and they'll do it again. They'll find something. They'll impeach me for having a good economy or something.
Can you work with some of them, like Elizabeth Warren?
They got nowhere. Wasted a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money. It was a terrible thing. They're just very dishonest people. But they impeached me twice. Once over a phone call that was absolutely perfect. The other one over perfect. And I will say the Republicans stuck with me 100%. But probably they will try and they won't even have to try and fight. They'll take anything I do. They'll say, they'll impeach me because I did an interview with you. They'll impeach me because I looked to that side of the room. These are bad people. And these are bad people. You know, when Hillary Clinton did all of the bad stuff, I didn't want to destroy her. I said, I can't do it. And not so much Secretary of State. It was that she's the wife of a president, and I didn't want to do it. And yet they tried to do it to me, which is pretty.
No, you should have did it, bro. Because here's the thing. Since you didn't do it, they went full throttle on you. Maybe if you'd actually locked up Hillary and locked up more people in the deep state, they wouldn't have came after you so hard, because then they know it's like, all right, yeah, I mean, yeah, if we come after him, he's going to come after us. What they saw is that, oh, we can come after you and he's just going to spare us. And they took that moment of, well, kindness for weakness. And they just went balls to the wall on you, hit you with 34 felonies that are dropping through appeals court, I might add. But still, maybe if you did lock up Hillary that first term, we wouldn't be dealing with this, or you wouldn't have to deal with that during the election.
Pretty sad.
You're a builder, and that hasn't stopped since you came into the White House, especially in your first year. What is the status of the Arc de Trump that you want to put on, I believe, the Memorial Bridge?
That's going to be so great.
And also, what is the status of the construction of the ballroom?
Okay, so the ballroom's under budget, it's ahead of schedule. We're making it incredible. We're going to have inaugurations there. It's high ceilings and big space, can hold probably 5,000 to 6,000 people.
Oh, I mean, shout out to the horizontal live. For the first time ever, the horizontal live is doing better than the vertical live. I mean, that should show you a shadow ban right there and then. That should show you when the horizontal live is doing better than the vertical. That tells you a lot.
Door, bulletproof glass, everything.
And for those who've been complaining about the ballroom, what is the purpose of the ballroom? Why do we need a ballroom at the White House?
Because the White House was never built with a big room. It's got when we have a big guest here, they build a tent out on the lawn, and if it rains, you're in deep trouble. They have a tent, and it's the only place you can build it sort of at a low spot. If it rains, the water pours into the tent. The whole thing is a disaster. And I said, you know, after I would have done the first term, but I was under such siege with all these crazy people that I really wanted to focus on that. I thought it was, and when I came back, I said, you know, we're going to get this White House a ballroom like they have never seen before. And it is a beauty. It's going to be the most beautiful ballroom in the world. But they need it. They can't use tents. Even from a safety standpoint, you can't use a tent. This is all bulletproof glass, drone-proof ceilings. And I think they're going to end up having all of because it's so cold on January 20th. And I think they'll end up having the inaugurations right in that ballroom. Think of it. You walk from the White House, just a short little walk through a very secure area. But I think because it's, number one, it's too cold. Number two, it gets unsafe out there.
It gets unsafe out there. You have experienced some threats. You've been attempted to be killed twice in assassination. We saw our dear friend Charlie Kirk killed last year.
Dangerous stuff.
Are you afraid for your safety? Do you worry about that? What about your family? I know that this tough.
I don't worry about it. And we have great people. And I feel that we're in good shape.
You're in good shape.
I think the Secret Service has done a great job. The military has done a great job. And one thing I know, if something happens, the person that did it is going to be gone because we are surrounded. Even as we speak, we are surrounded. But no, I feel very good. It's a job that has its dangers, if you think, right? You look at the percentages, it's probably the most dangerous job in the world. I was telling people, I guess it's 5.5%. It's a bad number, 5.5%. That's all. You know what that means, right?
Why don't you tell me what that means?
If you're a race car driver, 0.1% die. If you're a bull rider, 0.1% die. If you're a president, it's 5.2%. That's a big difference. Why didn't you tell me, Katie, that this would happen? I could have done something else. Maybe I could have done something else. But
well, you decided to do it again.
Look, I love doing it because we're doing a great job. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Our country has turned around. We have the greatest country in the world. And again, we came from such a low standard. I believe that if Kamala won the election, this country would have been, even by now, 1 year, it would have been finished. We wouldn't be a country.
She wouldn't have closed the border. There'd have been an influx of immigration. Our social programs would have destabilized probably within the first 2 years because of how much illegals are getting through. They wouldn't have closed the border, and we'd have just been cooked. And social services would have completely fallen apart. Barely anybody would be able to get housing assistance, Medicaid, because it's all going to these new citizens that are fluctuating in. So, yeah, we'd have been cooked. Oh, and taxes would have rose. Yes. If you actually looked at Kamala Harris's tax plan, she was raising taxes on not only the rich, but the poor as well. Why? To keep funding the social services that they're going to be letting immigrants take over. Get funding off of while you're still paying for it. You can't get into it, but don't worry, though. Those illegals who just dumped over the border would have, and that would have been Kamala Harris's presidency just 2 years in. It'd have been a complete disaster. And I mean, we'd have seen a whole bunch of factories left because she'd have took the 21% corporate rate to 32. So all those companies would have just left. All manufacturing would have mainly got shut down. I mean, we'd have just been cooked.
Do you believe that there's a Republican presidential candidate in the future who can continue to carry on your legacy and the work that you'll be doing over the next 3 years?
I hope so. And we certainly have a good bench. We have some very talented people.
Do you have any favorites or do you have any?
I do, but it's so early. I do actually, but it's so early that it's,
that could change if you want to tell me what they are now.
No, but we have great people. You see what's happening. I mean, the people that we have in so many, I'm not just talking about one or two. We have so many great people.
Who's so many?
Well, JD's been great. Marco's been great. Scott's been great. Everybody's been great. Look at
Scott's like the all-star to me. Scott Besson, he's the all-star. He had no scandals, no F-ups. And I mean, he's doing pretty good. Remember, we're talking about the Treasury guy, the Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Besson. So as far as the economy goes, we're doing good. As far as these trade deals go, they're coming in. So there's really no complaints on Scott Besson. I mean, you can complain about Rubio. Of course, there's plenty of complaints about Pam Bondi and Casper Patello. Those are the two I think should be fired. And I mean, maybe the agriculture lady is doing good as well.
Tom Homan and Christie, the job they've done with security. Don't forget, we had people pouring in the millions that were just walking right into our country, destroying our country. We stopped it. We have just I could name 20 people that are phenomenal.
In terms of the White House and how you've changed things around here, when you look at the Oval Office from your first term, it's very different than the Oval Office now. How do you decide which portraits you're putting in the Oval, what kind of decor you have in there? I know that you get a lot of gifts from foreign leaders when they come. How do you make decisions about what you want to be surrounded by when you're making these big decisions?
Well, it's just taste, but you know, the White House and the Oval Office had very few paintings in it. Biden had one. Obama had, you know, the American flag and, you know, sort of a painting of the American flag, but they had very few paintings. And I spent a lot of time downstairs they have a vault where they have 1,000 paintings, beautiful paintings. Some of them hadn't been shown in 150 years. Think of it. And they were incredible, of presidents, mostly of presidents, landscapes, other things, but mostly of presidents. And I spent a little time doing it. I love doing it. And I took out paintings of, I mean, there's a couple right here that are so unbelievable. Look all over the room. These are unbelievable art. And I researched it and I spent time doing it. And I took paintings that have been sealed for over 100 years, more than that, much more than that in some cases, and found great paintings. And we put them up for people to see. And cost nothing. You know, we have them. We didn't have to go out and buy them. They're there.
Yeah.
But they weren't used. And it's honoring some of the great presidents.
Mr. President, thank you so much for taking the time today. It was an honor to see you.
All right, guys, let's make sure to get that support up because then I'll just have to shut down the live and y'all won't see me until, well, tomorrow. And if you don't want that, make sure to support the live, guys. But all right, guys, let's get into the next interview. We can go ahead and get the support up. I'll keep the show going. If not, we'll just end it here. It is what it is. But all right, guys, let's go to the next video.
Mr. President, it's great to see you. Thanks for the time.
Nice seeing you.
I threw away all my questions. One question I had, we did this 5 years ago. I don't think you reflect too much because you're looking forward, but can you believe what's happened in the world and what's happened to you over the past 5 years? I just can't help but think that it's been just something to reflect. It's incredible, the 5 years.
Thank you very much. It's been a great ride. We've had a lot of fun, and nothing's easy in life, but you keep at it. We have a tremendous economy going right now, and we have a country that's the hottest country anywhere in the world. And this took place over 1 year. We just celebrated the first year, as you know.
Here's how I was going to start. I was going to say it was very compelling in terms of talking about what you've done in the first year domestically, but also very compelling in the case you made about Greenland. So I was going to ask you, did you see any of your European cohorts nodding? But I guess I don't have to ask that now because of the news that it breaks very quickly. Can you go into what you just talked about with the NATO meeting?
Well, we have a concept of a deal. I think it's going to be a very good deal for the United States, also for them. And we're going to work together on something having to do with the Arctic as a whole, but also Greenland. And it has to do with the security, great security, strong security, and other things.
The market, 600 points, getting back a lot of some of the nervousness we had in the last couple of days. The tariffs are off. Nothing happens on February 1st.
No, we took that off because it looks like we have pretty much a concept of a deal.
Yeah. A deal of ownership, a deal.
Well, it's a little bit complex, but we'll
explain. Well, I mean, let's be honest. When we kind of took that Venezuelan oil, that put China in a very tough spot. I mean, China mainly runs off oil. Like, let's not play stupid. I know they love to sit here and preach about green energy, but they mainly run off oil. So when we took a good amount of oil from them, when we took over Venezuela or we blocked it from going to them, that put them in a very tight position to now where they got to play nice with us. Now, when we come to that negotiation table, we're going to be looking at them like, so if you want access to this Venezuelan oil, well, tell me what you're willing to do, or you're going to be doing this now. So we'll see how much this Venezuelan oil means to the Chinese when it comes down to negotiation. But Trump definitely did serve them a blow when he took over Venezuelan oil or Venezuela's oil.
Right down the line, but the Secretary General of NATO and I and some other people were talking, and it's the kind of a deal that I wanted to be able to make.
Where does Denmark, did they weigh in on what they want, what they would agree to?
Well, I assume they did because he very much represents, he's a strong leader. Mark, Rutte. And he I assume he's been speaking to them. He's been speaking to all of them.
Are mineral rights involved? Is ownership involved? Did the Golden Dome sway people?
I don't want to say yet, but
the Golden Dome was very compelling today when you talked about that.
Yeah, the Golden Dome, and they're going to be involved in the Golden Dome, and they're going to be involved in mineral rights, and so are we.
It's not specific enough to know at this point how long this lasts, whether it's forever.
It'll be forever.
For Greenland at this point.
Yeah. Forever.
That's staggering.
That's better than a 99
This is what, 2 hours after.
It's better than the Obama deal with the famous Iran nuclear deal with a 9-year deal. No, this is forever. This is a long term.
I mentioned that you could have come over here and just talked about what you wanted to. Before you left, I think you wanted to talk about where the progress that you've made in terms domestically with the economy and everything else in the United States. And you didn't have to talk. I didn't think you had to talk about Greenland, but you're always moving on to the next thing.
In the speech I gave, I talked a lot about Greenland because we need it for security, and now we're going to have even better security, I think, than I would have had before.
And I know how you operate. I know that you didn't take force off of the table, but all along, I think if there was going to be a war, it was going to be a trade war. Is that fair to say?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see us fighting with Denmark.
NATO.
I don't see us fighting with NATO, Denmark, or really anybody in the EU. But I mean, they do have the bazooka option to where they're going to pretty much try to take American companies out of their market. Yes, pretty much cut off American companies from their market. I'm like, so yeah, social media. You're just gonna. So Europeans are no longer gonna have social media because we own that. Yeah, I mean Instagram, American company. Google, really an American company. Meta, American company. Oh, Apple. So that's an American company. So wait, y'all gonna stop having iPhones? Like, yeah, what leverage do you really have on us? Because a lot of American companies actually is what bring prosperity to a lot of these companies around the world. Let's keep it real. So what? And that's what their bazooka option was, to ban American companies. And I'm just like, yeah, that's not going to serve too well for you guys. Y'all going to be shooting yourselves in the foot if y'all do that.
And so much that to try to strengthen NATO. I'm sure you don't want to see the dissolution of something you work.
I'm proud of NATO from the standpoint. Look, I brought them up from 2% to 5% of GDP. They're paying a lot of money. They pay us a lot of money because they buy missiles and they buy a lot of things. Unfortunately, Obama gave them $350 billion for Ukraine, which was just terrible. I mean, the whole thing was terrible. It should have never happened. That's a war that should have never happened. But they paid a lot of money, and I don't know if you know, but I signed a rare earth deal with Ukraine to probably get most of that back, maybe more back than we haven't. But what they did, they were just giving out money like cookies to a child.
I know how much you've done today, so I'm going to bounce from thing to thing. Yeah. When we talked about geopolitical concerns today, we also mentioned Iran, and I made the point that I never thought that Greenland, that geopolitical events would include an actual shooting war. So Iran's a different case. It could be tariffs, which you've already announced for Iran. Could be further action than what we've already seen in Iran. Most people think that you probably prevented the loss of I don't know how many lives for some of the protesters.
Thousands, more than that.
Was that the end of the story, though?
Well, they had one thing specifically that.
Now, if he's talking about the 12-day war, yeah, Trump actually did stop the loss of many lives, because that war was to keep on going. The death toll just skyrocketed on both sides for Israel and Iran. And anybody that tell you that Israel was just kicking Iran's teeth in, they're lying to you. Actually, they're lying. No. The only reason why Israel has actually survived that 12-day war, because it was a war of nutrition, and Israel does not have enough missiles to fend off Iran. And I mean, let's be real, Iran has hypersonic missiles that was blowing right through the Iron Dome. So Trump had to step in, had to bomb Iran to get them to back off of Israel, or Israel was low-key going to lose that war to Iran. That's why Israel wants Iran to be destabilized, because they know they just can't take Iran on by themselves. And they've been wanting Iran gone for a while now. If they could do it by themselves, trust me, they'd have did it.
Really got me. They were going to hang the old-fashioned hanging. They were going to hang 837 people on Thursday. And I told them, you can't do that. If you do that, it's going to be bad. I don't want to go exactly what I said, but nasty. And they canceled it, hopefully permanently.
But those tariffs are still on, including China. Has China responded to
sanctions?
The 25% for anyone who does business with Iran, and that will go forward.
Yeah, that's going forward.
That will go forward. There are assets moving into the Gulf, obviously carriers and other things. So a lot of people are wondering whether that's a prelude to further action.
Well, we hope there's not going to be further action, but they're shooting people indiscriminately in the streets. And they were going to look. This was a big thing for me. They were going to hang 837, mostly.
Which, I mean, that's what Iran does all the time. I mean, that's what they do to all their criminals. It's not like the protesters were special. Trust me, my heart hurt for those protesters. I actually wish the revolution actually happened. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're really about to bomb Iran over what? Their people, the executing protesters. That's their people, not Americans. Not even any of our allies, but just Iranians that we want to bomb Iran. Like, that's not going to get us into a war over protesters. Yeah, that's just not a smart move. And whoever is in his ear talking that, man, he needs to push them away, because bombing Iran because of how they want to treat their protesters, I mean, how they want to execute their protesters, I mean, that's on them. It's like Iran getting mad at us if we vote the Insurrection Act in Minnesota and we got to lock up a whole bunch of, not illegals, but a whole bunch of protesters or obstructionists. Like, here's the problem. Can you imagine if Russia said, oh, well, if you don't release those people who is obstructing or who's causing an insurrection, we're going to come in and, bomb you guys. It's like, wait, what? Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing to Iran, though. Is we're pretty much saying that, yo, I know these people are going against your government, pretty much trying to invoke an insurrection, but if you do anything to them, we'll bomb you. It's kind of crazy when you kind of, switch out the names. But, for some people who really don't like Iran, who really want to see regime change in Iran, this is an acceptable measure for them. It's like, all right, cool, let's bomb Iran over protesters. And I mean, it sounds crazy to me, but some people it makes sense to.
Young people.
When you did successfully hit Fordo, you got a lot of grief from the Democrats for doing it. Now, the grief is, oh, you promised to do something in Iran. Now they want you to do, or they're at least finger pointing, say, you said you were going to help the protesters, and now you're not. So you can't win.
Well, we had, of course, again, I mean, if I came up with the cure to cancer, they'd say, why didn't you do it faster?
If you walked on water, you can't swim.
Yeah, they're sick people. They really are. They are, we call it Trump derangement syndrome.
Should we stay tuned in Iran? I guess that's my question.
I guess. I mean, look, it's
keep your eye on it.
It's a rough place. It's a place that we hit very hard with ending the nuclear. They would have had a nuclear weapon long ago. It's actually already, they would have had a nuclear weapon probably a month after we hit, had we not hit. And we hit them hard, the B-2 bombers. We just ordered 25 additional B-2 bombers. They were unbelievable. Those things they were totally undetectable. They were undetected. And think of it, with no moon, in the dark of night, late in the evening, every single one of those bombs, and they're giants, every single one of those bombs hit its targets and just obliterated the place. So we're going to find out where they are now about what they're going to do with nuclear. They can't do the nuclear. The one thing I've been strong on, they can't do the nuclear. Now, this attack that we did at the time, which is now a little bit older than what happened in Venezuela recently, which was equally as good, but the attack in Iran, if they do it, it's going to happen again. They've got to stop with the nuclear. They keep experimenting with nuclear, and at some point they're going to get the idea that they can't do that. They're just not going to be able to do that. Can't let them have it.
Something else that we might find out in the near future is the replacement for Jay Powell.
It's true.
I just saw the Mr. Hassett, who I have a pretty good relationship with. And you're right.
He's fantastic.
He comes on.
I like actually keeping him where he is. To want to know the truth, I don't want to listen. He's so good on television.
On CNBC would be a great time to give us more.
So good on
Are we down to 2 now? Are we down to? I heard Rick Reeder had a strong.
I'd say we're down to 3, but we're down to 2, and I probably can tell you we're down to maybe 1 in my mind. But
did Rick Reeder impress you in recent?
Very impressive. Yeah, he's been there
because for a while the betting markets had Warsh in the lead.
Well, Rick is very good. They're all good. All 3 are good. All 3 would be, I think, good. We have a problem with the man that's there now. He's too late. He's always too late,
Yeah,
except
too
when it
late,
comes to
Powell.
politics for the other side.
And he's too late, Powell, because like I said, he's a reactive chairman. He kind of waits for the inflation to hit, for low job numbers, all of the bad economic markers to hit before he takes action, instead of being a proactive where he kind of sees the storm before it comes and make preparations for it. No, he waits till the storm comes and then tries to build his tent. I mean, we need somebody to build the tent before a storm comes, my friend, and that's just not Powell. That's what we call him, too late Powell.
Where he was actually too early.
Another one, a person I know you have a great deal of admiration for is your Treasury Secretary.
Yeah.
He made the point that.
By the way, he only wants to stay where he is. That's one thing.
But
he's fantastic. But Scott only wants to stay where he is.
His point, as a real estate guy, some people say you always want lower rates, but Scott made the point that if you have productivity gains, whether it's from AI or whether it's from big, beautiful bill, whatever it is, that you need a Fed chairman that can't get too agitated about a hot GDP number. In other words, we might be at a point where we could run nominal GDP of 8% or,
Right.
After inflation of 5.5%. But that doesn't mean that it's inflationary and that you need to raise rates. So if you considered someone that could be like a Greenspan in the 90s?
Well, that's what I want. I mean, right now, if you announce great numbers, the stock market goes down because they say, oh, they're going to raise the rate, they're going to kill it, which really stops you from having any great runs. And we want to have a great run. So we're going to be at 5.5 or something. They're predicting. I don't know. It's much higher than they thought. But let's say we're at 5.5. We could be at 10, or we could be at 12. We could be at 15. But immediately when they announce good numbers, now in the old days, you're too young. In the old days,
You think I am, but you
no,
know.
but 20. I know you look good. Whatever you're doing, keep. But look, Joe. In the old days, when you had a good run, you'd announce good numbers, and the stock market would go up. Now the stock market crashes every time you have good numbers because they think everyone's going to raise rates, and growth is not a big cause of inflation. In fact, it can go the other way. So look, we've had.
I mean, that's what was happening under Biden when people were seeing positive numbers, and I'm talking about in GDP. Yeah, they would literally raise the rates. I'm like, oh well, and let's be real, there was heavy inflation going on at the time and all that, so that might actually be the main reason why they were doing it. But for your person who don't know too much about economics, it did seem like every time they gave good economic news, it would go down. But really, it was just like, yo, we're dealing with crazy inflation. The economics look good. People are making money, but we're still dealing with crazy inflation and prices are getting out of control. I mean, it is what it is. Now, here's the funny thing. They did have like two stagnant quarters of GDP. And instead of trying to call that a recession, they just said they changed the definition of a recession. I mean, that's exactly what happened under the Biden administration. It was actually insane.
Tremendous growth, and we have almost no inflation. For the last 3 months, we have 1.2% inflation, and yet we've had tremendous growth.
Do you, at this point, have plans for what you would do? And you said you won't fire Jay Powell. Let's say he decides, I'm not going to be pushed around. I don't like the way I was treated. Whatever he decides. And what if he decides to stay on the Fed? He doesn't need to leave when he's no longer chairman.
We'll see how it all works out. I mean,
that could create a block of 4 people that still vote.
We'll have to, in this world, we live with the cards you dealt. And if that happens, his life won't be very, very happy, I don't think, by doing it. I think he wants to get out. He has not done a good job. He's done a horrible job on buildings. He took a small little complex, the Federal Reserve complex. I could have redone it. I could have fixed it for $25 million. It would have looked beautiful. I think he's up to almost $4 billion.
Yeah.
The most expensive project ever built per square foot. And he's either incompetent or he's crooked, I guess, right? But so we'll find out. So if he stays, he stays. If he doesn't stay, he doesn't stay.
Yeah. Well, let me go ahead and read this out for you about the whole redefining of a recession, because it was the 2022 controversy and redefining. In July 2022, which we've seen a crazy dip in the market, a crazy increase in inflation. But yes, in 2022, after the U.S. reported a second consecutive quarter of negative GDP growth, and the original definition was that if there's 2 quarters of negative GDP growth, we're in a recession. But yeah, after 2 quarters, of negative GDP growth, a heated debate emerged over whether the country was in a recession. White House position, the Biden administration stated that the two-quarter rule was not an official definition and empathized that other data, specifically the stronger labor market, 400,000 jobs plus added per month, did not align with a typical recession. So pretty much they're saying, okay, look, man, just because we got low negative GDP numbers, and I mean, even though that's been the definition of a recession for decades, yes, for decades, that's been the definition of recession was 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. Biden said, no, F that. F that, F the GDP. We have positive job growth. So that doesn't, so we're no longer in a recession. F the definition. I mean, crazy, but yes. And the debate pretty much came of a crisis. Critics claim that the White House was redefining a recession to evade political blame, while economists pointed out that the NBER, the NERBER's definition, has always been the standard and often differs from a two-quarter rule. And like I said, the rule that they're talking about, what is the NBER, what it actually means is that, now see, the NERBER is NBER, NBER, or you call it NBER, does not strictly use a two-quarter rule. Instead, its business cycle data committee looks at the holistic sets of indicators that determine a peak in subsequence through in economic data. So key factors includes depth, how deep the decline is, diffusions, of which how widespread the decline is across sectors, and duration, how long the decline lasts. So pretty much they were trying to redefine what a recession was and pretty much lie to the American people. This is why they try to tell you, while you were seeing crazy inflation, that this is the best economy of our life. While you were seeing negative GDP growth, they were telling you this is the best, economy of our life. Because why? Oh, we have jobs, guys. Jobs are coming in, even though there are a whole bunch of government jobs that were being duplicated through the Biden administration. And that's the truth. Bidenomics, man. Bidenomics. Ain't that a motherfucker? Boy. But yes.
Do you know what would satisfy?
He took this job.
Yeah.
And they're up to almost $4 billion for a little building. I'm building this massive ballroom. I'm way under budget. It's going to cost less than $400 million. It's going to cost maybe $300 million for this massive project. I just built, relatively recently, I built a hotel, the Waldorf in Washington, and I spent like $250 million. It's a much bigger complex than the Federal Reserve and much more complex. So I said, how did they spend $3 to $4 billion on this little thing? I could have done it for $25 million, and it would have been nicer than what they're doing.
Does Tom Tillis, and I know that he's not going to be a senator much longer, but he probably could prevent someone from being voted on while this subpoena is still an issue. Are there just a couple of, do you know anything about what would be necessary for Chair Powell to answer for, to where this would be withdrawn? So
No,
we can move
I
forward?
don't know about Tom Tillis, but he's not going to be a senator too much longer. Yeah.
But you figure whomever you nominate is going to have an easy.
Whatever. I mean, whatever it is, life, whatever.
Whatever happens. Because we don't have a lot of time, I was going to needle you a little bit about Senator Elizabeth Warren and a meeting of the minds. That's something that wasn't on my my plate.
No, she was very happy with this phone call, I'll tell you.
I mean, yeah, because Elizabeth Warren works for the insurance companies. Like, yeah, she has a whole bunch of lobbyists in her office, and she does whatever the hell they say. So when you want to talk to the insurance companies, you got to talk to Elizabeth Warren. I mean, and Elizabeth Warren is so bought by the insurance companies that she hides anytime somebody mentions the insurance companies. Like, she'll all of a sudden take a break out of Congress and be like, oh, whoa, we're bringing up insurance? Yeah, let me find this back door. I'll come back when y'all stop talking about insurance companies that I work for.
Now, look.
You won't be having a lot of policy discussions with her other than...
But credit card companies are getting 28%, 30%. These people don't know they're paying that.
Right. Is it a 1 year?
1 year cap of 10%. And I love it. I know it's sort of like, it sounds like the mayor of New York maybe came up with that, but people are paying, they can't make it. They can't pay 28. Whatever happened to usury? They can't pay 28%. And so I said, 1 year, I'd like to see a 1 year cap of 10% with the credit card companies. And they'd understand that. I've had calls from credit card companies, people that are friends of mine, actually. And I treat them good. I respect them greatly, but they make a lot of money. They got to give people a break. 28% interest. You know, people go out and they buy something, and if they're a little bit late, they're paying 28%. They end up filing for bankruptcy.
Yep.
So I would.
Thank you. I mean, Trump is honing down on usury. It's like, yeah, I mean, bro, this interest don't help nobody. It's predatory lending at best. This is why, to get people who, you know, they can do predatory lending on, because they'll make their money off it before they ever pay back what they actually owe. And then, I mean, if they just keep adding interest on interest and these guys fall behind, they're in a debt hole that's almost impossible to get out of. And this is why I say this 10% benchmark is to stop this predatory lending that creditors abuse. I mean, yes, maybe you don't need to get approved for that credit card or that loan if you can't get approved at 10% interest. And it should stay that way to protect, well, of course, the further increasing of consumer credit. Like, let's be real, consumer credit cards are through the roof. I think it's basically at, is it at $1 trillion? Yeah, I think there's over $1 trillion in credit card debt in the United States.
I'd like to see that happen, yeah.
So there's, I guess, we're getting toward the end, but there's classic conservatism, there's populism, and I guess there's common sense. Is that how you would describe some of the steps that you made? I mean, there are people that call it statism, or that we're getting too involved with managing the private sector.
I'm conservative, but I think I'm common sense. You know, it's like people say, are you a conservative? I say, yeah, but I'm a common sense person. I mean, I do things that aren't necessarily that conservative sometimes. And like men and women's sports, okay, people think it's wonderful. I think it's a horrible thing. I think it's a ridiculous thing. Open borders for everyone so that everybody's prisoners can pour in, where they come in from the Congo, where they come in from all over the world, from Venezuela. And by the way, we picked up 50 million barrels of oil the other day from Venezuela. We're going to sell it at the market price. We're going to give some to Venezuela. We're going to keep some. That's going to be great. You know,
they rebuild our oil reserves that Biden pretty much decimated because he wanted to bring down gas prices from $6. Which, I mean, I get the strategy, but you did put us in a tight position by, you know, using the oil reserves.
We're getting along great with Venezuela. They have tremendous oil and oil reserves and other things, too. And 20 years ago, Venezuela was sort of a pretty hot country. And now it's going to be maybe hot again. By the way, they'll make more money with us than they would have made in 25 years.
All these things the 10% on the credit cards, the not allowing corporations to buy single family homes. It all seems to be.
They were gobbling up all the homes.
It's aimed at affordability, I think, at this point.
It's also aimed at common sense again, but they were buying up all the homes. People couldn't buy homes. You know, you have these big companies.
And when they buy up all these homes, I mean, here's a wild part. A lot of people don't notice, but these like big corporations buy up these homes and they can use them as collateral to borrow on. They buy up all these homes and they can make money off the appreciation of all these homes. If I bought 10 homes and they're all worth $500K, or shoot, if I bought 10 homes and they're all worth like $80K, I mean, I don't even got to live in them. I just got to sit back and watch the appreciation on them. And maybe I'll add an upgrade every now and then just to boost the value and then still eat on the 4 to 5% appreciation of it. And we're talking about 10 homes, they're all appreciating at like, I don't know, 4 or 5%. And we're talking about 80,000. I'm making a good chunk of change at the end of the year. Like, let's be honest.
These big corporations buying up thousands of homes and renting them or doing whatever they do with them. Some of them are flipping them for a big profit. But it got to be too much, too many. It became, you know, it's good investment. And we're not saying take them away, but we're saying that we don't want that. We want people to be able to buy a home.
Yeah.
Been a long day.
Because when these big companies are buying up homes, I'll be real with you, the builders don't want to, the builders stop selling to the American people and they start building, stop building for the American people and they start building for these corporations who can afford to buy these homes at high prices, or the rich who can afford to buy these homes at high prices. Not your average American citizen, not your average middle-class citizen. They're not no longer making homes for those guys no more. They're making homes for the corporations and the rich. That's it. That's all. Because that's all they can profit off of. And they see that these corporations are buying these houses in big numbers. I mean, Why wouldn't you want to stick to building big houses if they're the ones mostly being bought at these high prices by corporations? So, and they're not doing no mortgage or anything like that. So you don't even got to worry about all that. You're just getting cash up front.
For you, I know.
And if they do take it out on credit, I mean, at least you know you're going to get your money back.
And energetic, more energetic than I am right now. Thank you for
You're
the
doing
time.
just fine.
Thank you for the time, Mr.
Thank you,
President.
Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close it down on this one. I mean, I'm most likely won't come back on until next day around this time. Why? Because like I said, the way YouTube has told me that because I release too much videos, it kills the reach of my other videos. And I got to allow 24 hours of no posting. So I haven't posted no new clips, no new shorts until the next 24 hours. And this also goes for this live. So I'll see you guys within 24 hours, and hopefully that fixes the shadow ban. If not, then it is what it is, and I just got to keep pushing through it until eventually it's lifted. But that's what I've been told by the supervisors at YouTube support, so we're going to have to go with what they're saying. But all right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and head out on this one, man. I appreciate y'all for pulling up. Man, how come Seth was it? What? Only Seth? Y'all let Seth out I'll support y'all. All right, it is what it is, man. We'll try again tomorrow. Appreciate the support, guys. We're heading out on this one. Hey, man, it's the Set with Set Media. Peace.
Trump just said sometimes you need a...
Usually they say he's a horrible dictator type person. I'm a dictator. But sometimes you need a dictator.
Can we cue Cal from Both Sides News excusing this as a joke, please? Look, this was not a formal setting. He was on an unscripted rant about how good his speech went this morning. He was just playing with you. He's not even hiding it anymore, Cal. He's telling you how he feels about his power, yet you still find excuses for him, even when he's not looking for excuses for himself. It's like when he said he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose any voters. You are that voter. Look, our constitutional republic believes in checks and balances, and we are obviously anti-dictator, but... Why is there always a but? But every single president, with the exception of William Henry Harrison, has signed a thing called a executive order, which is unilateral authority vested to the president. No, except it's not unilateral authority. All executive orders are still bound to the Constitution, judicial review, and congressional statutes. There's no dictators in our system, whatever way you look at it. Well, I think what Trump was saying is Biden over the last 4 years told us that I cannot shut down the border without Congress, and then Trump came in and shut down the border without Congress using his executive authority. That's because Congress has already delegated broad immigration authority to the executive branch, but you're turning this into a technical, legal argument when Trump wasn't. He was speaking broadly, and we see his embrace of dictators worldwide. He's buddy-buddy with Putin, the Gulf states, Erdogan, yet he's extremely and almost oddly critical of democratic leaders around the world. Open up your freaking ears. He's telling you straight up. In your ears, fixate on these few jokes he makes while I'll stay focused on the substance of building a great economy, creating a safe country, and